No question about it. Kindergarten today is not what it used to be. It's a lot more academically challenging than when we were kids. No longer is kindergarten a place where kids are merely introduced to letters, numbers, colors. These days, kids are tested, expected to perform. The demands have led to a movement called redshirting. You remember, it used to refer to holding kids back for sports, like in college, but now there's academic redshirting, holding kids back a year so they can enter kindergarten at age 6 instead of 5 when they're theoretically more mature, more ready. Here to help us understand whether or not delaying kindergarten is right for your child is well-known child development and behavior expert Betsy Braun. Welcome.
Thanks, Phil.
So why is this redshirting happening?
The main thing is that kindergarten curriculum is not what it used to be.
Right.
And if we're expecting our little 5-year-old boys in particular to be able to sit still and do this new curriculum, they're going to need to be a little more developed and a little older.
So we're talking about a few months older, though, right?
Well, a few months older.
If your birthday is
you know, it's anywhere from a few months to a few more months. It's going to be different for each child because development is different for each child.
So when you talk to parents about this, what do you tell them if they're saying, should I or should I not do it?
Well, the first thing I try to explain is that this is about helping your child to have a successful experience in kindergarten. But it's not only kindergarten. We're looking at the whole picture. What's it going to be like for your child when he's a 6th grader? Or is your daughter going to be the last to get her period when she's 13 or 14, or the last to get her license when she's 16? So we're looking at the whole piece from kindergarten through 12th grade. And then we got to figure out, how do you know if you should academically redshirt your child, if you should allow your child to have another year before she starts kindergarten?
Well, let's look at some of these tips that we had talked about. I mean, you don't know, really. You're trying to make the best evaluation that you can.
Right. And it's very hard to know early on when you have to make that decision. It's really hard to know in January how your child's going to be in September. But
So the criteria would be what?
So generally speaking, the first question we ask is your child able to get his needs met independently? In other words, does he meet his own bathroom needs?
Can he take care of himself?
Can he take care of himself? Right. Does he follow directions?
What are some of the other ones?
Second thing we look at is your child socially and emotionally ready for kindergarten to move on? Okay. Emotionally, I mean, can he handle frustration? Can he separate from his mommy and his daddy? And socially, does he get along with peers?
Right.
Can he solve problems? Can he cooperate? Can he learn in a group?
And then does he show an interest in learning?
And that's the third one. Does he show an interest in learning? Meaning, is he curious about numbers and letters? Does he have a pencil grip?
So if the answer is yes to those things, then it would be a candidate for it. Doesn't mean you should definitely do it.
No, but those are kind of the things we look at that help us to understand that he could be successful in kindergarten.
How common is this? I mean, what I read is only like maybe 10% of kindergartners are redshirted.
Well, this is a tricky question. I think it's more common than the data is letting us know. But what happens is the more it happens, because nobody wants her child to be the very youngest in any class. It's always better to be the oldest. It puts a child in a position to be more successful. Being the youngest is not so great.
And successful is defined as what?
Not being labeled as a child who's always getting in trouble. Sit still, Jimmy, on the rug. Cross your legs, Jimmy. Don't raise your hand, Jimmy. We don't want our kids to be labeled. And it's just because they may not be ready to sit still on the rug.
But you could make the same argument that would help a kid become more mature if they were in a structured environment, if they were in a learning environment at a younger age.
No, we can't. That's not
you don't buy that?
Nah, I don't back that one at all, because this is about development. You know, little boys develop differently than little girls. Right. And you can't force someone to sit still if he can't sit still. And the kind of learning that's going on in kindergarten across the country.
But then why is the research divided on this then? It seems like there's no clear study that says, yes, definitely do it.
Well, because development is squishy, it's fluid, and one thing is going to be true for this child and not for another child. It's very individual.
So if you had young children today, would you do it?
There's no question. I would look at each of them, and I would decide if it's going to be right for each child. Maybe different.
All right. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
I guess we're going to have to continue debating this one, but it's a growing issue.
I think you're right.
All right. Public
Just
schools
like
and private schools. Yeah.
I was always the youngest. I was the youngest, the shortest, the smallest.
And
I was 4 years old.
turned out okay.
Yeah, but are you thinking about how you felt being the youngest all the way up? Not always a great thing.
Backward and shy and scared. And
See?
yeah, I was
Here?
all of those things. And I turned out okay, but I was all those things at the time.